Hello everyone, so I'm doing something a little different today. I have a lot of art supplies that I haven't used since I was really young, since back in the day. So one of the things that I have is like a lot of different colored pencils. That one's Liquid Mark, but I have just a lot of Crayola, and I wanted to make like a full colored image using only the colored pencils. And so I was thinking, what can I do with colored pencils? And so I knew that I wanted to do something that was more complex than what I would have done back in the day. And so I decided that I was going to do a galaxy themed. And I wanted to do a quite interesting illustration. So I was working on a cosplay at this time. And so I had a pincushion on my desk, and I decided, I'll draw a pincushion because it's really colorful. And then I thought, no, that's just not enough. And so I decided, what if the pins coming out of the pincushions were like the stars, and the pincushion itself was like the galaxy? And so that's what I actually ended up doing. I decided that was what I was going to do. Now, I'm quite good at galaxies in watercolor because the colors mix together a lot easier, and I just find it easier to do. But I actually found it really hard to get the colors to mix the way I want them to when I was making this pincushion. One of the things that I really didn't like is that I didn't want to use black because I was worried that the black would just be overbearing on the other colors, and I wanted them to blend better. So I was like, what about blue, or what about purple? And I was kind of limited in what I had, because when you use watercolor or a paint medium, you can mix colors together, right? And you can get more and more and more. But with these, it was like I was stuck with this color of pencil or this color of pencil. I'm openly not super sure about, should I have a sharp pencil, or is it time to have a dull pencil, or use the side of the pencil? And I don't know anything about it, at all. And so I was kind of a big noob when it came to things like that. And so that's what I had to do, was decide how I wanted to do it, what I was going to do. And so I decided that these galaxies normally have parts of purple or red or blue around the darker color. So I decided I wanted to kind of do more like a sunsetty theme. So it was going to be yellow to orange to red, and then some blue and purple, and do something like that. And I started running into a problem quite early, was that I don't know if I wasn't pressing hard enough or if I just wasn't mixing right, but I had a lot of gap of white from where the pencil was. And so you'd have these white specks and all this color, and I kind of wanted them to blend really nicely, and they didn't. And it got really upsetting after a while. And so it was really hard to decide what I was going to do about it. So I went over again and again. I tried maybe doing yellow all over the colors, and then doing orange on the orange and the red, or what I should do. And then when I started going in with the darker colors, I was thinking about if I needed to do some kind of border, some kind of outline, should I make all these things separate, or what should I do about it? I really don't I started to do an outline, and I think it was just the wrong thing to do. I don't think I should have done it at all. I also think that maybe when I was doing these strokes with the pencil, that I should have done different strokes, like strokes sideways, strokes vertical, and strokes all over the place. I kind of didn't. And another good method is the circle method. Anyway, I had decided at this point that middle circle for the pincushion was just going to be great if it was a moon. So I decided that was going to be the moon, and then all the little stars are going to be the needles out of the pincushion. And so it was working pretty well. The blue mixed with the purple wasn't as dark as I wanted it, so I tried to bring in some black, but it got a little too dark for me, and I really didn't like it for a long time. and I just didn't really know what to do about it. They weren't blending the way I had wanted them to. So I came back in with the purple. I tried to do some different things, but just wasn't doing what I wanted. Now, I've only made galaxies a few times. And since it's always been in watercolor, I guess I just wasn't prepared on how to properly use the equipment I was using. I think I could have done a lot better if I had looked up a tutorial about how to do galaxy pencil art or anything like that. And since I didn't, I think it really hurt me in the end. So that was me adding the black, and I think it didn't go out so well. And then I was like, maybe I should just make like little like shadow lines or like separations of the colors, and that didn't work, and I did not like that at all either. And so at this point I was like, I guess I'm gonna blend it, and I don't want to mess anything up, right? So I took a a tissue, and I just tried to blend it together. And this can be really hard. One, because I don't want to get the stars to be colored because I want them to be white. And second, I don't want to blend it all into one color. It'll make it look really messy, so I have to be quite careful. It's also been quite a while since I've tried any of this. And so it was really, really nerve-wracking to me to try and, add some more color here and blend it, or add some color here and blend it, or what I was going to do. In the end, it didn't come out the exact way I wanted it to. But I did get to add some things and take away from things, and I certainly learned a lot more about this material I was using as an amateur when I was so young, and still am, as such an amateur. But I'm growing, and I think that's a good lesson to take, is that even though your art isn't what you like all the time, like, it still helps you to grow and learn. So this is the time I decided that's going to be a moon. And so I made it the moon, mostly because I just didn't want it to all be one color. I didn't want the whole thing to just be like blue and purple. So I was like, what if the middle was nothing? Like, what if it's white like the moon? And I thought that was a really good thing to do. So at this point, I decided that I was going to do a constellation in between the stars. So I decided that I was going to connect some of the stars, and then in the galaxy I was going to add some stars with splatter paint. And so that was a little harder than I would have liked. I didn't have a white gel pen or anything, so I decided I was just going to use paint. It's fine. And the brush did not splatter it as much as I would have liked it to be splattered. I had to kind of do it multiple times to get any kind of effect that I wanted. And the paint, at first, it was too light, and then it got too dark, and it was a little difficult for me. But the paint was old, too, and so it was already, like, being pigmented and dried up and stuff, and so I probably shouldn't have used it. But the only other option I had was whiteout, and I really like whiteout. It's very good at being like at really getting sharp white things, but if you spill it, like, it dries so quickly that there's just no coming back from it. So I definitely wanted to do paint instead. And so I connected these stars in kind of like a constellation format. I really, really do like the way that kind of turned out, even though I don't necessarily like the colors on the pincushion. I still really liked it. And so then I had to decide how in the world I was going to do all these little stars, because I definitely didn't want to just do them all by hand, because that would just it'd take too long, I thought, and I didn't want to do it. And it would look like too organized. I needed randomness. So I got a piece of paper and put it down and covered up a little bit of just the bottom edge of the pincushion, just to like make sure it didn't get on the sunny area of the sky. And I started trying to flick the paint onto it. I think it wasn't watery enough at first, so I added some water and I mixed it, and I'm just trying to get it to fly off the way I want it to, and it never really did, but it did eventually start showing up, even though it was a little more than I'd wanted to add. And so that was a little bit of a task for me, but I definitely ended up with something that I don't hate, and I learned a lot from it, and I'm very thankful for that. And so the next thing I went to draw was actually kind of a commission that my friend from school had asked me to do. I actually made it already online digitally, but I wanted to try and color it with regular pencils. And so I go to a college now, and our mascot is a mountain lion. And she had made a diversity and inclusion, like LGBTQ plus club at school, and she wanted something that was like the lion, but like lion pride, like had the rainbow flag, or had something to do with like gay pride and like just like accepting people, because it's also a Catholic school, and so it was a little harder to be fighting to get this club established than it probably would have been at a lot of other schools. We can't talk openly about STDs or birth control or anything like that. And so another thing we couldn't really talk about was gay marriage or gay relations. And so we really wanted people to feel like you're not alone. And there were a lot of problems on campus about just like bullying and just being horrible to people who were part of those communities. And so she wanted to really get the word out about it. And so this was a commission that I did for her with the flag draped over the mountain lion as he's like looking at you like, what do you need, right? Or like, what about it, right? And so I started to make the flag regular, and then I liked how it looked like broken up into these little sections, and so I did a little bit of both of that, and I really liked the way it turned out. Of all the ones I did like 8 or 9 of them. Of all the logos I did, this one was my favorite by far, so I had to do it just regularly. So I like the vivid colors of the bottom piece and the darker colors of the top piece, and I really like the way they go together on the paper. I still have a little bit of room down at the bottom, so I'm going to try to make something down there as well. So I was having a bit of trouble thinking about what I wanted to do, but I remembered a comic idea that I had, and one of the pictures I was going to draw was this like angel girl falling from the sky. And the last time I had drawn her was on some notebook paper in school, and I think I might have even lost it. And so I wanted just to draw her again, just to keep that in mind of like how motion is and how everything flows. And this one is a little less interesting than the other two, simply because I didn't use a lot of color in it, though I do like the way it turned out in the end. Since her wings are like evaporating, they're like disappearing as she's falling, I decided that I was going to make each of her feathers different colors of the rainbow. They kind of have like a rainbow effect as she's falling down, and it was really good for me to draw her too, because I'm working on anatomy and different things like that, and facial expression too as she's falling. I don't know if I think I drew her face, but I can't remember right now. And so I sketched it, and I decided, hey, it's good, so I'm going to ink it. And one of the problems that I have is I'm bad at inking things. I tend to make mistakes a lot because the way I draw is in short little lines, not in fluid lines. And so my ink can really reflect that in my artwork. And I'm always worried about it. And but I think it turned out really good, especially on this page. I think that my inking was quite more fluid. As you can see, I really like doing feathers because it's that like choppy short lines that I'm used to doing when I draw. And so it's something I'd never done in the sketchbook before, was draw feathers. So I really, really did like that. I would like to do maybe a larger feather drawing later. Oh, I do make her face, sorry. But I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do that with these colored pencils yet, especially since it's been years since I worked with them. Now, I took a little bit of time because I didn't make 7 different feathers for each color, so it took me a little time to be like, oh, what color should each of them be, and what color should her hair be, and what color should her dress be, and all this kind of stuff. Eventually I decided that her dress will just be white, it works with all the colors really well, and everything else will be brown. Since brown doesn't appear in the rainbow, it wouldn't already be a color of one of the feathers, and I thought that was a really easy thing to do and just be simple and still add up to everything all nice and solid and fluid. So I hope that you enjoyed watching. This was coloring with my childhood colored pencils, and it really helped me a lot, and I learned a lot more than I thought I did. So thank you very much.